Mr. Speaker, why are we here today in the middle of a government shutdown? The answer, frankly, is that the Senate refuses to come to the table to negotiate. The House has passed 4 different measures that would have kept the government open. The Senate has ignored them all. Before the government shut down, the House passed a bill which would keep the government open and defund the President's health care law. Well, it was probable that the Senate wasn't going to support that. But I was thinking at least we would be able to get documentation as to maybe there would be some Democrat support for that. Having failed, we passed a second motion to keep the government open and simply delay the President's health care law by 1 year. After all, the President himself had delayed portions of the law. Well, obviously that didn't play with the Senate. So then we passed another piece of legislation which would have funded the government, it would have funded the President's health care law, but simply would have made the law fair for all Americans. The President changed the law by executive order, a procedure of questionable legality, but he changed the law giving large employers a 1-year delay in the employer mandate. In other words, employers were required to offer insurance or face a fine. The President, by executive order, changed the law to delay that for 1 year. Well, we asked simply to give the individual the same prerogative that the President gave large employers, delay the requirement to buy insurance for 1 year without having to pay a fine. And we also asked that Congress, the President and the Vice President, be treated the same as all other Americans. The President changed the law by executive order, a procedure of questionable legality, saying that Congress would get a different deal in the exchanges than the average individual. Now, when I went home to my district in August and did 12 town hall meetings, I had universal disgust for that rule. So in our proposal to the Senate, we said we'll fund the government, but simply change the rule concerning Congress so that Congress is treated the same as every American. Let's change the law so that the individual is treated the same as a large employer. I don't see how that's holding a gun to anyone's head. That is simply fairness for the American people. And that was rejected by the Senate. Then we simply asked the Senate to come to the table. Well, if this proposal, which just makes the law equitable for every American, unacceptable to you, would you please come to the table and let's talk about what is acceptable to you? Let's sit down and negotiate. Now, Mr. Reagan presided over his terms in office with a Democrat-controlled House, and yet he worked with Mr. O'Neill and got significant legislation done. Mr. Clinton worked with a Republican House and got significant legislation done and made real progress with welfare reform and many other issues in the Clinton presidency. But they worked across the aisle. They worked with the House of different parties and got things done. Now we have a president that says, I'm not going to negotiate. We have a leader in the Senate that says, I'm not going to negotiate. Each part of our government has a role to play, the executive, the Senate, the House. And frankly, in the whole history of the Republic, we've never had a situation where the President says, I'm not going to negotiate, where the one House says to the other House, we're not going to negotiate. This is frankly unbelievable in a step in our government, which I don't think that the American people want. This is not about the President's health care law. This is about the function of our government and how each section of the government deals with each other. And I think the American people wanted to go in the traditional fashion where the House, the Senate, and the President work together to find a solution. And when the Senate refuses to pass legislation or even consider talking to us, that's not right. I mean, we in the House have passed legislation to fund FEMA, to fund our national parks, to fund WIC, to fund our veterans, to fund the National Institute of Health, the FDA, the National Guard. By the end of tomorrow, we'll have funded more than half the government in this House. And yet the Senate won't take any of that up and won't even negotiate with us. We've even made sure that furloughed employees will be paid. The Obama administration has given exceptions to their allies, big businesses, and some unions. Why shouldn't the American people be given the same kind of treatment?
Time has expired.
The administration and the Senate should come to the bargaining table today and end this shutdown today.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you.